my name is Mordred Viking, obviously. I don't know why I'm doing that whole intro again, but we are here for some world building. And this is, you may remember, the world as we left it from the end of last session. This isn't the whole world, I hasten to add. This is just the region on which we are focusing right now. So we have like the crater area here in the center, which is where the big disaster happened. That was basically the precursor race were in there. It blew up and left this vaguely crater-shaped structure. Then we were starting to talk about which regions were owned by which of the ancient races. So we divided it up into like the Fae, the precursors, and then the giants. But actually thinking about this, I don't like the Fae being down here in the south. I think the Fae would actually be up there. And there is an important reason for that. So one thing which I would like to do is I think this is Origin 1, wasn't it? Play a little bit more with the actual terrain. How do you scroll again? I don't remember. Oh, on here, wasn't it? Yep. So what I would like to do is play a little bit more with the actual geography of the land here. With one thing in particular, there is something very obvious missing. Where are the rivers? There are absolutely no rivers at the moment on the map. So that is one thing I would very much like to start sketching out and designing. I would also like to change where some of the mountain ranges are. So in my mind, at least one edge, probably right here, was a mountain range. And the reason for this is the mountains basically acted like a blast shield, protecting the stuff behind. And the stuff behind it in here is effectively going to be the Feywild. It's going to be a giant, very ancient forest, which is saturated with magic. So we have the dwarves who come from, the gnomes, which come from the mountains here. Then behind it we have the forest gnomes and the wood elves. Then I think I want to have the dwarves own a mountain range that kind of spans through here. And the reason for that is I want them to control the north-south trade routes. Had you decided what the orc precursor would be? If not, what about bugbears, the goblinkin, if I recall? No. I always feel like bugbears are kind of a separate race. I don't know why they're always so closely tied to orcs and goblins. They never feel that orcish or that goblin to me. I think bugbears should be something else. So my thinking at the moment is kind of the northern reaches. Hang on, let me bring up my notes again. So the northern reaches are flatlands and then mountains. This is probably going to be this bit. We will have a bit of a watery area here. Maybe even a river coming through this, kind of splitting the realm in half. So then we could have some very northerly cities up here, like a Novgorod type deal. And then the east are the flatlands, which are some of the best arable lands early on. And then mountains, then beyond that is the big steppe where the centaurs are going to be. And that's basically what these bridges are. There's going to be something like the Caspian Sea here, and then out here is just a big steppe. And every now and then you'll have centaurs raiding through here, and this is of course where the invading armies also come through. And I kind of want the dwarves to be a bit of a shield against that there. Maybe have the dwarves in here. Because one other thing that I've been wondering is north-south trade. I kind of wanted the dwarves to be a bit of a Switzerland. Not in that they're neutral and everything, but that they controlled trade between Northern Europe and the Mediterranean. But then, why wouldn't you just go by sea? And the answer to that would be, if they controlled... You know what the dwarves would be in here? Stick a mountain range in this. And then a river kind of curling through the mountain, or just like a pass coming through there. Maybe they've dug a canal. I mean, it's the dwarves after all. A big, big old tunnel. Ooh, actually I quite like that idea. A seaborne tunnel. So I think this is going to be where the dwarves are. And then maybe this won't necessarily be the top of the world. We can always get rid of the ice and move that further north. You mentioned you wanted to remove the water, lake, sea on the eastern map borders in the middle last session. Do you still want to do that? Yes. Or at least reduce the size of this. Because like I said, I want this to be connected to what would essentially be the steppe. So the centaurs in this would culturally be something between Huns, Mongols, and Cossacks. Oh, the one under it? This I'm kind of okay being watery. Yeah, I'm okay with that rounding around. I might actually make this into a proper sea area. In fact, I kind of like that idea. I'm going to remove this land bridge. Yeah, I'm going to remove that one. How do we do that again? We go to terrain. And then we make sure we have that stupid select thing off. Where's the water? Ocean. That ain't it. That's it. And then the other thing I wanted to do was embiggen the land connections here. And to do that, I kind of wish I could choose which tile sets to have on. Just fill this in. We're just going to make it flat green for now. You can always make it more interesting later. And then that area up there as well. That's fine. Is there a filter option at the top of the list? Ah! Classic. There we go. Thank you. Well spotted. And then I think we basically said that the orcs would have come from the... Oh no, the orcs were coming from a sinking land. So they probably came off map from over here, or maybe further south, and then land on this shore. Because the orcs in this were going to be maritime. Right. So I think the next thing I want to do is fill in some of these random... Actually, do I... Having a couple of lakes around isn't a bad thing, but I feel like there's too many lakes. Especially up there. And I wanted this to be a pretty heavy mountain area. This could probably be... Do I want to make that an island? No. But having that being a desert, I don't think is a bad thing necessarily. Where's the desert tile? There. Let's fill in some of the water there. Turn it into something like this. So a whole bunch of this area is really forest. And then this is the mountain range. So we're kind of switching these two around. And these mountains are going to come right up to the water's edge. It's going to be something like that. You can even have this little jutty out area. It's kind of interesting. Gives it a bit more of a fractal shape. So this is a really, really big mountain area. And then kind of shielded almost immediately behind it, kind of in this sector. You know, I actually kind of like the way that these are shaped a bit more. Let's get some of these. Make it a bit greener. Make this more hilly. Yeah. And then we want heavy, heavy forest. Oh, actually, this could be... Thought I know it'd be a while before we get to the stage, but one of the southern landmasses could possibly be a Britain analog, largely separate and irrelevant from ancient history, very quickly rising to prominence the growth of genuine oceanic trade. Yeah, which is why I was kind of thinking that this might be the realm of the Orcs, because if the Orcs are going to be the maritime nation, then they may well be on the islands down here, and then moving north. I might reduce the size of the islands, though. I want this to be more of an archipelago down here, so it has a bit more of a Caribbean feel. Probably not environmentally Caribbean, but like a chain of islands. Is there anything that would be similar? It's not tropical. A non-tropical island chain. Denmark, I guess. Right. So the big thing here is I want this to be heavy mountain. Probably wouldn't be conifer, it'd be that type. Yeah, let's turn this into mountainous woodland. With a couple of the truly tall mountains around there. And then it comes down to being hills, that's fine. I guess the Fire Nation was semi-tropical but relatively volcanic. Greece. Yeah, it would be more like Greece. That's probably a better similarity. I don't like how much desert there is here. I feel like I should go through and just turn it all into grassland. What is the... that? It's like rocky desert. I mean, honestly, this should all just be forest. This is just very thick forest. Heavy deciduous. There you go. Actually, you know what? Leave that lake there. It's an interesting lake. And we can leave the bare hills. And then we can have some forested hills. Which is this bit. Same with this. Because I want this to be a really big forest. Like this is effectively the Feywild. So I don't know that it would necessarily go all the way back there. Probably. Just got a pass going through there. What's that? That's grassland. Oh, we actually have steppe. Okay, well, steppe should definitely be over on this side. This is all steppe. Outside of those forests, that feels fine to me. This map likes its desert, doesn't it? And then there's probably also steppe up here. It's just going to be a wee bit colder. There we go. Honestly, the terrain layout of this map reminds me of early Zelda games. Maps of forest, desert, plains, lakes, mountains all somehow fit together in a small landscape. Yeah, it's definitely a bit random, which is why I'm kind of coming in with my broad sweeps and just changing it. But I want to come in with some more of my heavy deciduous forest, which will carve into the middle of this. And then we'll also have our forested hills, which are going to be these bits here in the middle. Because I quite like this being spotty mountains. That's fine. There should be... Actually, that bit's okay. Let's turn these bits into forested hills, though. And there are some... like, this is probably a high plateau here. In fact, let's turn those into forested mountains around the sides. Basically, any of these bits are getting turned into forest. Because I guess the closest this would be like pre-colonization North America / Siberia. Couple more hills here. This whole area can just be a forested hilly bit. Like, as you get further south, it can probably be a little more open, but here, definitely not. We'll have this kind of central area be more mixed. I do like all the volcanoes around. There are too few volcanoes in newer fantasy. Speaking of volcanoes, need to get rid of the random volcanoes that are just out here at sea. Don't like them. That one off the coast can stay. That's kind of interesting. This map gen definitely had a thing about random ass volcanoes in the water. Come on, off you go. There you go. Get rid of all of those. And then scroll up. You too. Yep, and you. And you. And you. The only place where I'd be tempted to have some volcanoes would be like in here, maybe. Yeah, you know what? I kind of like that. Let's put a mountain volcano. Kind of a bit of a ring. I need to zoom in some more. Too many volcanoes. There we go. That's a more interesting feature. Super tall mountain air range that just pops out. Where clearly the sea and the blast just kind of smoshed a gap around the edge. Yeah, it's probably a bit too big. Let's reduce the size of it. Let's turn the outer layer into mountains. Oh, hang on. Oh, there's singular mountains and then there's mountain range. Mountain caps, here we go. And what I wanted to do was turn these outer ones . No, don't like it. Too big. And why is the style different? There you go. Much better. Right, back to this. I need to put the ice oasis somewhere. So getting back to the general plotting of like where different things are. I'm wondering where the main humans are. Is there a giant desert somewhere on the continent? If there was, it would be further south. I mean, I probably do want to have like a dragon desert in the same way that I want to have the ice oasis somewhere. Maybe in the middle of this. You can also get deserts behind mountains where rainfall just doesn't happen there. So for example, if the rain usually came from a northwesterly direction, part of the reason why there's so many trees here is because that gets all the rain. Then if you had another mountain range like here, then the bit behind that mountain range would be desert. Rain shadow, that's the word. I kind of like the idea that there might be a rain shadow like in here. So let's go ahead and turn this into a desert. And then I think we need to make this bit in the middle a little bit more mountainous. In here. Instead of tropical. This is a proper solid mountain range. And then we can put some grassy hills on that side of it. Where's my single mountain gone? There it is. Let's get rid of these random little bits in the middle. So that's our mountain range there. And then this bit behind is going to be the rocky desert. And hills. We'll add some more hills in a bit. Leave a couple of those mountains. They're kind of interesting. I'll fill in the hills in a bit. Once I have a slightly better idea of how this all looks. Okay, I think it's going to be something like that. And then what we're going to have is barren hills. Where are the barren hills? Here, barren hills, barren hills, barren hills. Here, barren hills. Where are you? There. So we kind of want to have those a little bit more around the mountains. We're going to have that as a bit of a low area. This would definitely be all hills. And then what I like the idea of is having a mountainous glacier. Kind of there. With ice spilling out there. It needs to be more central. Yeah, you know what? I have a better idea. Gonna get rid of those bits. Gonna get rid of him. And there's gonna be a tiny little bit of mountain here with some snowfields. Too much. Needs to be much smaller. And then immediately around that, here's some serious farmland. I don't like these random mountains there. Let's add some more. Just rocky desert. This whole thing's just... up to these mountains there. Make that legit hard to cross. I'm beginning to think, actually, that these mountains should be extended. Not necessarily the rain shadow. You know what, let's put the grassy hills in here. Because that's a pass. And this is actually going to be the Dwarven homeland. Because what they do is they have settlements around this, and this is basically the food source of the mountains, and trade routes have to come around here, through here, and then south, because this area is marshland. It's been inundated, especially this bit, so it's much easier actually to go through the pass. The hardest bit... You know what, let's get rid of those and turn those into hills. Too much. Got a little lake there. So it's easier to go to here, jump across the mountains, probably another hold in here, get to the oasis, get to the holds here, and then you're out. Then maybe there's going to be a river or something that connects through here. Maybe running from the mountains down to this. And that's where the ice dragon is, yeah. But it's slumbering. Because that's what I've been wondering for a while, and I'm still not entirely sure how to answer this. Like, if you were doing north-south trade, why wouldn't you just go by sea? Rocks, reefs. Yeah, I mean, if you had the human lands in here as I kind of envision they would be. Maybe it's just quicker to go from them through. I mean, there could be a river connecting to like here, so you go by river to say this. Especially if it's an underground river that went through them. No, why would it go under the mountains? I like the idea of the northern mountain river through this. I mean, the other thing we could do is just make this smaller. In fact, as a whole, I feel like this map's too big. Like, how big is each one of these tiles? Couldn't there be an inhospitable race west of them? Yeah. Like, this honestly kind of feels like it would be troll country. Part of the reason the dwarves and the trolls hate each other. So I do think I'm going to make this marshes. This whole area with the many lakes and things. So I need to be careful not to draw around those too much. In fact, let's get rid of some of the... Don't do those bits, those can stay. So this is the troll territory. And then a little bit harder to do here because this is one of the regions where the land type would change over time. But I also want where the hobgoblins are to be marsh, except that they terraform it, Netherlands style, and turn it into serious arable territory. Wouldn't it be cool in a fancy sense if the troll marshes had a couple of giant trees in them? Like minor mountain big trees? Yeah, possibly. You know, I'm going to make this marsh stretch down here a bit more. Oops, that's not marsh. That's water! This bit looks weird. There should really be grassy hills. This is too green an area. And then let's turn that into grassland as well. I actually really like that. That makes a lot of sense why you would then transport here, but it still doesn't answer why wouldn't you just go by sea? There's got to be something valuable in here which you would be wanting to trade to. So who is in here? And why are they valuable? What is in here? Halflings? Because the thing is, it is a long way to go around this way. So going by land through here makes a lot more sense. Or going through water to the rivers to here by land makes sense. Gems? Yeah, I was thinking maybe like gold mines or something. It would be Mali. High concentrations of promescence? No, the high concentrations would be out here. Lizard folk? So it would need to be an ancient trade route. No, I don't want to... Here's the thing. I don't actually want to limit seagoing trade. I think that having this being an accessible Mediterranean type area is really valuable. So I don't just want to artificially say there's dragons in here so you can't go by sea. I want people to go by sea. But I also want there to be a reason for people to come down here via what is otherwise this inhospitable desert route. So what other civilized races do we have? Lizard folk is one for sure. Orcs? No. Hobgoblins? Not yet. I'm thinking maybe halflings. Once you're out of the rain shadow, this could be quite fertile, like farmland. So you got some farmland up here where the humans are, then down here would be like North Africa or Greece. I don't really want it to be Mediterranean though. I mean, the Mediterranean cultures, I feel, probably be this. Like this, like if we're talking real world, this is probably Italy. Italy / Greece is right here. So this would be what, Turkey? You wouldn't trade with gnolls. I'm trying to keep the races relatively 5th edition alike. So gnolls are demonic ravagers. I'm going to keep them as demonic ravagers. We could certainly put gnolls somewhere, and I think it's an interesting thing to do. But you wouldn't go through a desert to trade with them. So what other playable races are there? Who have we forgotten? We've got elves, dwarves, dragonborn gnomes, half-elves, halflings we haven't placed, half-orcs, humans. tieflings. Leonian satyr would be from the Feywild. And vampires would be from anywhere. Aarakocra? Could be lizard folk. There's a lot more races in this than I realised. I mean, it could also be a custom race, if we have an interesting idea. I like turtles. It's not really seaworthy enough. Turtles would probably come from one of the archipelagos. And in fact, that's something else I want to do. I want to turn these into actual archipelagos. So have a think, chat, about what that should be. And I'm going to... is there a way of giving me a bigger... Give it a bit more of an interesting shape. Disconnect all of this. Because I want these to actually be islands, I think. I might even turn you into an island there as well. Get rid of some of those deserty bits as always. That. Do. And ignore the ice bit. This is not where the ice is. There is probably like an Africa-like continent down there. And then let's turn this into a regular mountain, just to get rid of the ice, so I don't get confused in the future and go, what the hell are you putting ice down here for? The answer is I didn't. Interesting thought, what if the orcs are the Greeks of this world? They kind of are. So the orcs in this, I do want to be maritime. They're the sailors. Pirates, mostly. The hobgoblins would be the Italians, and then the orcs would be the Greeks. How do we make this more interesting? Actually, kind of looks like it's supposed to round off down there. Let's do that. It has a bit of an Australia type feel to it. And then I'm just gonna forest this up. And because it's all just one type of thing, that should be an alert saying, "Hey Mordred, you haven't actually done anything with this. Change it." There we go. That's how the Southern Islands look. I'm actually kind of tempted to get rid of this one entirely. And just have kind of a bit of a Denmark Strait thing going on here. I actually kind of like that idea. So then the orcs appear from these guys. I don't like how straight this is. Let's go and annihilate this continent a bit more. I kind of want it. There you go. Better. Looks more like an island now. Yep, we're going to get rid of this. Are we? Access to these guys could be another reason that you wanted to trade through here. No, we'll keep them. We'll keep them. So, still. I'm not convinced. Could be cool. It could have Cyclops, Satyr, Gorgons and stuff be a thing like monsters or foes that come and foe their island groups. That's true. Actually, it'd be kind of interesting having like Cyclops down there. Another giantkin. So does that mean orcs are also giantkin? Except that they're kind of evolved from maybe Cyclops? Because I could definitely see, like, personality-wise, orcs would have a fair amount in common with the lower giants, like hill giants. Ogres. That would also mean that dwarves and orcs are distantly related. They just branched quite significantly. I mean, honestly, we could turn this into a bigger mountainous area and just have this be the dwarven seat. So it really is trade with the dwarves that you're getting from going down here. Maybe it's like gold mines in this. Because we did say that the dwarves aren't really related to the progenitor, what are they called? Not progenitors, precursors. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to turn this into a bit more of a unified mountain range. And then we're going to have hill coming through here. Let's turn this into a bit of a beefier range. I quite like having this kind of fertile area inside, because again, I don't want the dwarves to be subterranean. They're mountain folk, they're not subterranean. So then trade routes, trying to get down to them. So again, this could be another swampland, and in fact this looks like it would be a swampland. Currently it's flagged as jungle, but we're going to change it to swamp. So really the safe route to the dwarves is through the desert. And yeah, I quite like the idea that this would be a bit more of a major mountain area, and this is probably a major river coming through here, which is why that's so marshy. That does make sense. And I think I'm going to put a forest in here. Probably. Actually, that would be more of a dry forest. Shrubland. There we go. With a singular mountain there, it's kind of interesting. And then I think I want to turn this into rocky desert. To really make it, you go through the pass, you go to here, you head down to here. There's probably like a Timbuktu style waypoint. And then I think I might have the mountains spike out a bit more to there. So it's not quite so far until you're into the mountain. Let's bring in some hills. So you're saying it's a lonely mountain? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. So you head south, head directly towards these mountains. You will find a Timbuktu type town. You then skirt the west side of the mountains until you hit the land of ice and grass. And then from there... what? You go for the edge of the peaks, where there's some more dwarven holds. And then probably the majority of the dwarven population would be here. Because they've got the forest, they've got the arable land, and then also the mountains for their metalwork. And also around here. So this is like the dwarven homeland. Plus dwarves up here. Probably 2 different realms. Maybe even 3. Because that's the other thing, like, none of the races should be completely homogenous. We want to have a bit of a CK3 simulation going on to work out the kingdoms and who belongs to what, but that's going to be very much a timeline thing, which is actually the thing I wanted to do today. But it was really important to solidify more of the geography. Dwarves need a minor threat towards them. I mean, they've got the trolls surrounding them. Plus, centaurs from the north. So you got centaurs, you got trolls. Could even put one of these be like lizard folk. Tritons, something coming in from the deep sea. And... ooh, yeah. I'm an idiot. I know exactly what this is. It's the Silk Road. The Silk Road probably comes in from here, stops off at the dwarves, and then this is where you buy and sell the Silk Road stuff and dispatch it to the rest of the main realms. Of course it is. The Silk Road probably arrives by sea, actually. Maybe in here, probably more likely down here. So we have a... yeah, you know what, I'm going to do that. We're going to turn... make this a little swampy. But this isn't bad swamp, this is just swampy land because it's lowland. And then there is probably a fairly major trading hub. Down here. Like in here. Boat dwarves. Boat dwarves will be right here, living in the hills. Boom! And you know what boat dwarves need? Wood. They have wood right there. Maybe even in here. Oh yeah. Boat dwarves with the white cliffs of Dover. I actually kind of like that. I love how I've had all of these grand ideas for all the different races, and it's the dwarves that are getting the most fleshed out. Because of course it is. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a quick print screen of that, because this is a note that needs to be made. Let's just stick it in paint. That's the Twitch preview. And I'm just going to grab this. Put the Dwarven Realms into there. Is that pictures or in documents? There. Image. We want to cropped content. No, that's not it. Canvas to layers. Get rid of that. Do it again. There we go. No, I don't think we want a Venice type thing here. Venice would be the Hobgoblin area, probably. Alright, so I want to have a new layer. This is going to be trolls. And we're going to make the trolls like that colour. No, it's not going to work that way. We're going to do this as text. Huzzah! This picture is actually a lot smaller than I realised. And we'll make a much fancier version of this at some point. And then what I want to do is we'll make a light blue, like that colour. So the Silk Road. Maps are always made better with big pointing arrows. Absolutely they are. Except I'm not so sure that Boat Dwarves is quite so clear anymore. We should move that. Better yet. And then we're going to get the maroon colour. Whoops. Undo this. Other dwarves, and you know they're other because they don't use VS, they use FS. Is that the eraser? Yes. Which one's this on? There we go. Boat dwarves should be... There you go. Boom. I am really happy with that, actually. That is some good design right there. Which also means that there's going to be a major trade nexus in this pass. And that's Dwarven Switzerland. That bit right there. That makes sense to me. And the two factions go to war often over their pluralization. Yes. I like that. I like that a lot. See, that's the kind of high-level development I wanted to get to. First modern race Mordred makes for a setting, dwarves. Switzerland or Afghanistan? I'd say it's more, well, yeah, it's desert, actually. Both. It's both. Both? Both. I wouldn't say, no, I don't think it's Afghanistan, because it's not the graveyard of empires. Although, if attacks from the centaurs come in, they probably would be targeting the dwarves pretty early on. And that's when the dwarven holds go into lockdown. Dwarves are hard to conquer if nothing else. I'm really happy with that. That's some good progress. Now we just need to have this same kind of detail for the other areas. And I think we were getting there with this. I think the Feywild needs to be bigger though. This mountain range here is too big. This all needs to just be one giant one giant forest. And in fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to remove this mountain range. If there are mountains that can be in the further north, like ringing it as opposed to in the middle. Unless there's a small mountain range like right in the middle, in which case fair enough. But no, we're going to turn this all into forest. I just want this to be one big, deep, bloody forest. Because my thinking here is the mountains acted like a blast shield for the initial kaboom of the magical disaster. But what that in essence meant is that a lot of the magical power went over the top of it and then landed in this forest, basically spurring it into just crazy levels of growth. In fact, I'm going to use coniferous just to say this is really heavy forest in here. Like crazy heavy. And I'm regretting the shape already. That's just how it's happened. There you go. So this is where the gnomes were. This is where the... Sorry, this is where the rock gnomes are. This is where the forest gnomes and the wood elves are. Regular elves would probably be fairly scattered. I don't know that they would be necessarily concentrated. Like, I'm thinking there were probably humans down here and elves down here, and humans up here and elves up here. No, I think that this would be the elves. And then humans are up here. So the actual blast was probably this. Which I'm going to mark by volcanoes. This is where the disaster happened. Woke idea. Let's make the humans last. See, I'm definitely reducing the age of elves. So one of the things I dislike the most about fantasy elves is the fact that they're so long-lived. I think that gnomes would probably be the longest lived, and I'm definitely capping things out at about 250 to 300 years. Nothing lives for centuries with the exception of dragons, and that's what makes dragons special. And then eventually the hobgoblins will be down here, which as things become increasingly trade orientated, this becomes kind of a free city hub, both of mercantile but also mercenary. So the hobgoblins prior to that were probably in here before they got pushed out by the invaders. So now the dragonborn are probably kind of in this sector, then you have the humans up here. If we're talking modern history, but honestly, that's the kind of thing we need to determine through the timeline, where exactly everyone ended up. Like, the only ones which are kind of set in stone right now are the wood elves, the rock gnomes, the forest gnomes, and the dwarves. The humans, the elves, the half-elves, half-orcs, dragonborn, kobolds, hobgoblins, goblins, that's all still up in the air, and I'm kind of happy with it being up in the air. And we'll work that out through effectively simulating the various migrations. This gives me a really good idea of where the giants were, though. So the giants were more southern. The precursors were probably more northern. That's the other thing, actually. This could be the... No. I think Goliaths would probably be up here. Yeah, I think this would be Goliath realm. So maybe we do actually want to have actual ice coming down this way. Except the weather being predominantly from this direction. No, that works, because you sometimes get like the wettest weather from the Arctic, so it kind of swirls down this way. Would that make the elves way weaker? No. Elves are still like one of the most magical races. The defining feature of elves in this is they're magical. And that pretty much everyone in their society can do cantrips. That's a pretty big thing. Except instead of wizard cantrips, they'd probably be sorcerer. If there's a difference. What's this for? A possible D&D campaign in the future. It's just a generic world, well, not generic world, but it's a world I just fancied building. And I'm much happier with the islands down here now. Now that we've kind of shaped them out. I actually kind of like the idea that the orcs would be on this one. They came from over here, maybe, out in the Atlantic. Fake Atlantic. Which means this bay here, it's probably a city right in there, which is probably one of the biggest shipyard type areas. Because remember, the orcs in this setting came from something like Atlantis. And I just feel like we don't have anything that's really coming from the west. Everything comes from the east. So the orcs suddenly appearing from the west, where everyone's like, what the hell? Makes more sense to me. No, these are pirate orcs. The orcs are the most maritime of the races. They're kind of Berbers mixed with Vikings mixed with the British. And orcs probably do speak with a bit of a Plymouth accent. Where was Atlantis then? Probably out here somewhere. But it sunk. It was an evacuation. A big migration. Which is why the orcs just kind of swept over everything. Yeah, the orcs would definitely own coastlines. They may own a little bit of this, depending on who ends up here and whether they were kicked them out. It could have been that the orcs landed here, took it over, elves came down to nuh-uh, kicked the orcs back out to sea where they eventually settled down here. Possibly. I mean, again, that's one of the timeline simulations I want to do in the future. I think Greek city-states could be a thing for the orcs instead of, you know, clans. Yeah, I don't want to make the orcs clan. That's... no. City-states is more hobgoblin. I really like the idea of the hobgoblin city-states. That's how they have such a martial society, because they're constantly fighting each other. And cities are more like regiments. Organised, settled regiments. And I also think it would be a really fascinating thing to visit for the hobgoblins. Like here, this is kind of out of the way until other maritime powers arrive, until like naval technology gets good enough where you can really start going to sea and trading. And then suddenly the hobgoblins find themselves from going from a complete backwater to one of the most central strategic trade route faction. I think that would be really interesting for their psyche to visit. If the orcs attack from the sea, a full magic race like the elves, they would sink before they make a foothold on land. No, I'm not sure that they would, because surprise. The whole thing with the orcs is surprise. Nobody expects anything to come from the west. It's like getting the Native Americans suddenly appearing in Portugal. Nobody expects the Native Americans attacking into Portugal. No one expects the Sunset Invasion. Precisely. I really like this region now. I am so chuffed with myself over that. Oh, it's magnificent. Having a sunset invasion after the orcs get their sea legs following the collapse of Atlantis. Bingo. See major potential for the isthmus to be a trade crossover before it gets canaled in the future to avoid all the pirates. And that's probably where the game would effectively begin, is when this canal is established. Or maybe a couple of years afterwards. So you'd have a Constantinople type city here. There'd probably be a couple of big ones. Big trading settlements in here. Which would be like the entrance to the Baltic. So you'd have a Lübeck, you'd have a Hamburg, probably one on either side. And then you'd have a Constantinople here once this has been canalled. And possibly a Novgorod-type city up here, depending if there's more to the north. What would the orcs pillage from the elves? Space. Land. Oh, you mean now? Money, wealth, slaves. Major trade conflict brewing between the new trade city and the dwarves. Yeah, absolutely. Although the dwarves still dominate the Silk Road, that's not going to change. Although, maybe it would. This could be a Ottoman situation where the other powers want to find a way of bypassing the dwarves because they've been too greedy. That's a very dwarven trait. And the way to do that is come by sea from the edge around here and eventually cut across this to trade in here, bypassing the ancient Silk Road entirely. And that would be a major upset to the dwarven politics too. They'd suddenly find themselves a lot poorer. Ottoman dwarves. Yeah. Swiss Ottoman dwarves. That's what they are. Actually, the dwarves are probably more like Persia. Bypassing people over trade tariffs is very Hunter. Yep. And I think I would, not for any reason, like I'm not planning to put this into EU for anything. I just think that 1444, or that kind of era, is when I would set this as early Renaissance. I find that time period fascinating. I think that a fantasy game set in that would also be fascinating. Full credit to what Ambenar has done. Like, I'm not detracting from them at all. I think they've done great. But that's also something I myself would like to visit and see what it's like. Early guns, like very early guns, but yes. Like the gnomes might have them. It's a great period. I love Pillars of Eternity for much the same reason. Yeah, same. Could even have the canal being built with the backing of the orcs. Well, remember the orcs. This peninsula is the hobgoblins, it's not the orcs. The hobgoblins, the ones who are organised enough and can marshal the labour to do it. And that's after the hobgoblins were basically pushed back to here. The dwarves probably hunkered down and defended, and then whatever attacked probably came through here. Or possibly just through the desert. Whoever the big bad is, I don't remember. Who was it that attacks at that point? Was that the Draconic invade? No, here we go. Atlantis, that's from the west. Northern incursions. That would probably be the Goliaths as opposed to the Dwarves. The Dwarves are now definitely southern. And then the Draconic invasion, yeah, the Draconic one's the big one. And possibly Centaurs. Like, Centaurs are constantly invading. But this timeline is something we need to expand, for sure. That was just a rough overview. Hex-based world. It's a hex-based world because I had a very nice random generator. This will eventually be turned into prettier maps. This is just easy to work with. Wouldn't the kobolds also have guns? You know, that would actually be really interesting if it's the kobolds who get black powder first. It's what makes them a viable force. Anyway, I have been going for about 40 minutes longer than I'd actually meant to do. So I'm going to call this one here Orange Kessler. Thank you very much for the 13-month primary subscription. Very much appreciate that. I hope you have a safe, relaxing and Merry Christmas this year, Mordred. Thank you very much for that, Kessler. Anyway, do I have major rivers yet? No. That is something we do need to add. Wondering what the easiest way of doing that is. I know that this has a... So it's in... It's not in there. Rid of view. Shapes. Curve. Yeah, you use this system to do rivers, I think. Anyway, we need to save this as World Origin 2. Bugger off, Malware Bytes. You're becoming malware yourself. Same with you, AVG. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. If you have enjoyed this, hit that follow button so you get notifications when I'm live again in the future. My next stream will be on Friday. I am not streaming tomorrow. Tomorrow is my day off, but I will be back again on Christmas Eve, Friday, streaming all day on Friday, which I believe is going to be hard to find. Then the second stream on Saturday. I'm not streaming the first one. I want to have a Christmas meal with my family, but on Christmas second stream 10 PM I will be streaming because I do like doing a Christmas stream if I can, so do expect that. And then on Sunday I am also streaming, double stream for Christmas, Boxing Day, that's the word. Anyway, that's it for me for now. Thanks everyone for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, hit that follow button. If you've really enjoyed this and you want to support the channel, then please do consider subscribing. If you want to see what this might potentially eventually be used for, then head over to our Digital Dragons channel, which I'm going to raid in a second, which is where I play D&D. We are not playing this week because we're currently on break. There we go. For the Christmas period, but we should be starting again in early January. That is a game that I am DMing. It has been an absolute ton of fun, and I am very much looking forward to getting into that again. We're going to raid Digital Dragons, you know, just in case you fancy following that and following some of our D&D stuff, then I'm going to make that nice and easy for you to do, but obviously not live at the moment. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks everyone for watching. I will see you all Friday. Until then.